Sheriff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed here with you today. In this video, we are going to talk about a kind of cool little bluesy, maybe with just a smidge of jazzy way to really emphasize each new chord in a blues. Now, this is kind of important. I get a lot of questions about, do I have to play the same scale over all of the three chords in a blues? Can I play this scale? Can I play that scale? Can I play the other scale? Do I have to play this scale? Do I have to play that scale? The answer in almost every instance is yes and no. Yeah, right? The reality is that there's a lot of different choices. You can approach the blues as one whole thing. We can play, for example, a blues in A. We can play the A minor blues scale over the entire chord progression. You can play an entire blues with one minor pentatonic scale, minor blues scale. Blues, pentatonic, same thing, okay, for my purposes anyway. So the minor blues scale and the minor pentatonic scale, same thing. The only difference is the little blue note that comes up. Right, so that scale, the minor, box 1, box 2, box 3, doesn't matter which box. It could be the 4-note solo pattern box, it could be the house pattern box. It doesn't matter. You can play it all on one string. It's still a minor blues scale. Okay, so keep that in mind. Sometimes that's kind of confusing. And sometimes it's really easy to confuse the boxes for the scale. So assuming we are talking about the A minor blues scale, we're going to play a blues in A. Okay, so blues in A, right? We have A7, we have D7, and we have E7. Okay, now the reason I'm using these particular chord shapes is because I'm going to use them. Okay, now over the entire blues progression, like I said, I'm going to use that scale. You might think of it as box 1 of the A minor blues scale. That's a common way to call it. A, C, D, D flat, E flat or D sharp, E, G, and A. And then it repeats. C, D, D sharp or E flat, E, G, A, C. D, D sharp, E flat. Again, you can keep going. So, here's the thing. Over the first chord, the A7, that note right there, my middle finger on the C sharp, the 3rd string, is a very important note. Why? Because it's the 3rd of the chord. We have the root, the 5th, the flatted 7th, which is also very important, the 3rd, which is arguably the most important, the 5th, and the root. Okay, so we have some repeats. When I play a D7, root, 5th, flatted 7th, 3rd again, okay, 3rd of the D7 chord, that F sharp right there. Notice that F sharp is not in the A minor blues scale from before. Okay, that's important. Also, notice that the C sharp is not in the A minor blues scale from before. I think that's kind of cool. It's one of the sort of signature things about the blues is that the most important note of each chord doesn't exist in the scale. When we get to the final chord, the E7, we have a root, a 3rd, a flatted 7th, and a root. Now, if you could play it, there's another 3rd there, but we won't worry about that right now. We've got a G sharp right there on the 4th string. Okay, so the first thing that's important is you have to know for all of the chords that are going on. Okay, now obviously you're soloing, you're not playing chords. I know that. Okay, that's kind of, we have to sort of point out the obvious, but you aren't playing chords. However, chords are going on behind you. Okay, and it's really important that you, even though you're soloing, you're constantly aware of where you are in the 12-bar form. Remember, the first 4 bars are the 1 chord, unless there's a quick change. I'm not going to get into that right now, but the quick change is the 2nd bar is 4. So the first 4 bars are the 1 chord, right? In our case, that's going to be the A7. The second 2 bars are the 4 chord. In our case, that's the D7. Back to the A7 for 2 bars. 5 chord, 4 chord, 1 bar each. 1 chord, 1 bar, 5 chord, 1 bar. Now those last 4 bars, they're a little bit, they go by fast. Okay, so my suggestion is to do this little project that we're going to do here only up until about the 9th or 10th bar. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. Okay, so here's the trick. I had to set all that up. I know that was a lot of setup, but here's the trick. We're going to play the note a half step above the third, which would be the fourth. Then we're going to play the flatted third, which would be the half step below the third, and then the third. Okay, so when we're playing the A7, we're going to play the D, the C natural, and then the C sharp. Now what's most important is that we're going to play them 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, so that I end on beat 1. I'm playing the C sharp, the most important note in the chord. I am playing it on the downbeat of that chord. Now, admittedly, the first 4 bars we're going to just be playing A7. We're not, this opportunity is never going to present itself. So we're just going to play the minor blues scale. As it gets to be the end of bar 4, ready to change chords to the 4 chord, we're going to do that same move, the 4, the flat 3, and then the 3. I call this bluesifying the third, to approach it by a half step below. Okay, because remember, that note, that F sharp, that was my third. So I'm going to play a half step above, half step below, and then the note itself. Okay? When it comes time to get back to the 1 chord, I'll use that move again. When it comes time to go to the 5 chord, I'm going to play the 4th, the flatted third, and the 3rd of the E. Okay? So as I'm playing through my chord progression, as I'm imagining 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and now I'm on the D7 chord. Okay, so what I'm going to do is play, you get to play whatever you want until it's time to make the chord change. When it's time to make the chord change, though, you have to, on beat 4, play the 4, on the play the bluesified third, the flatted third, and then on beat 1, play the third, okay? So if I were to put that into my looper, okay, I like to use loopers for this sort of thing because I can kind of go slow. I could even do sort of an abbreviated version. I could practice on just the change going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, right? I could play something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, and back then to the 4 chord for 2 bars. All right, so here's my, I've got the rhythm going. So all I'm gonna try and do is catch the change right now. I'm practicing with my ear. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Here comes the 4 chord. 2, 4, 1. Here comes the 1 chord. Right? Kind of see how that goes. 2. So what I'm doing is I'm just noodling kind of, whatever I want, right? But in my mind, 1, 2, 3, I've got the count going. I know what's going on. I know what's coming up. And when the time comes, I make sure to grab that little move, okay? And that's going to get me to the 4 chord. And I keep the count going in my head for a couple bars, and I know that it's time to do that little move to get back into the 1 chord. Now, at first, it's usually going to sound really erratic, kind of as I just did. I was kind of playing something and then I sort of just completely abandon it and I go do the move to get to the next chord. It's going to be like that for a little while. This is something that you'll have to experiment with because But over time, you'll start to be able to plan for it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And pretty soon you start to create these lines that just go right into that move. And you start to have these really nice, more flowing ideas. Okay. So be patient with yourself. This is not trivial. This requires you to do a lot of different things in the background. But if you are looking to make your blues soloing sound a little bit more sophisticated, this is a really, really great way to do it. Now, the one we didn't handle is getting to the 5 chord, right? So let's say that, I wanted to practice on that one as well. In this case, I might just put the whole blues in my looper. 1, 2, 3, 4, then the 4 chord, and back to the 1 chord, and here's the 5 chord, and this is great practice too, because it helps you keep your time. So here, there's nothing going on. So there was the move. There's the move. Now towards the end there, the chord changes get a little bit faster. You may just want to abandon it for about the last 3 bars. But here we go. 4, 1. 4, 1. I'm back to the 1 chord. 1. Here's the 5. Now I'm just going to play. All right. So hopefully you kind of get the idea. It's the sort of thing where you might just want to practice going from the 1 to the 4 chord, 1 to the 4 chord for a while. Get good at that. 1 to 5 chord. Get good at that. 5 to 4, right? You can narrow down the individual changes using your looper, and that way you can practice on one change at a time. That's what really makes this work. It's really hard to take it in all at once and do all of the chords in the 12-bar form. Okay. Now, what's also cool is let's say you were in D, right? Let's say you're in the key of D and you had a D and G would be your 4 chord and A would be your 5 chord, right? What's cool is that this D looks the same as if I was in the key of A, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, if I was in A and I was playing up here, when it went to D, it would look like this. Okay, now you may not be comfortable playing in, boxes 3 and 4 and 5 of your minor blues scale. So that may be a different challenge. But assuming that you are, you can make those same movements. The bluesification process, right, works for this chord no matter where it is. Right? Same thing. It doesn't matter where that chord is. Same for here. Okay, again, it doesn't matter where the chord is. So the key shouldn't matter because you just put chords, to go with whatever key you're in. So if, once you sort of get the hang of it in A, make sure you try it in very disparate keys like C, E, G. The most common ones, C, A, G, E, D, right? So Those are the most common keys for a blues. Blues in E, blues in A, blues in C, blues in D, blues in G. Those are common options. So make sure you can at least handle this comfortably in those. And what's cool is that this doesn't replace anything else. Okay, as I've said here, you're only playing the minor blues when you're not doing this one particular bluesification move. This chord following move, but you don't have to do that. If you know other scales, other ideas that can be used, you can still use those and continue to use this method of pulling your listener to the next chord. That's really what it does. It's this. It really pulls your listener to the next chords, and that's what it's nice for. But you can use any other type of soloing approach with it, and it will work. Okay, so it's a very cool idea. It does take a little practice. It's not trivial. It requires that you know where you are in the form, you know what beat you're on, all the things that you should know. So it may be good practice on those things, or it may be a little bit of motivation to get a little better at those things. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this today. As always, if you have guitar playing friends, I hope you'll share it with them. If you're watching this on YouTube, I don't do a huge amount on YouTube, so please share this around. Better yet, head over to Blues Guitar Unleashed, sign up for my email list, grab yourself a copy of the 4-Note Solo or the guidebook that I offer. They're completely free, some great information in there. And as always, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed, and I will see you soon. Take care.